Hello, and welcome to Defense One's Service Spotlight. I'm Jennifer Ladd, Senior News Editor for Defense One, and I'm talking today to Brigadier General Daniel Shipley, the Deputy Commander of U.S. Marine Corps Forces Pacific. Brigadier General Shipley, thank you so much for joining me today. I was hoping you could start out by giving us a very brief overview of MAR4PAC. Who all falls under the umbrella of Pacific Marines, and what are some of the things those Marines are doing right now?
Hey, Jennifer. First off, it's great to see you and meet you, and I appreciate this opportunity to share about what we are, who we are, and what we do here as the Marine Forces out here in the Pacific. And I'd be happy to give you a background. And I think that'll help provide a good basis for our discussion for us, but also for our viewers to kind of get a better appreciation of what we're doing out here. Pacific Marines were roughly about 75,000 Marines, sailors, and civilians, which amounts to 2/3 of the active duty combat forces for the Marine Corps writ large. We are all at this time assigned to the Indo-PACOM commander.
Okay.
We're the largest operational command forward position throughout this area of operations, with over 25,000 of those Marines west of the international date line. And we are comprised of three entities. The first being the United States Marine Corps Forces Pacific, which is where I work right now, and that's located here in Hawaii at Camp Smith. We also have the 3rd Marine Expeditionary Force, which is stationed out in Okinawa, Japan, and they have Marines located throughout Okinawa, while also having some up in Iwakuni, Japan, and we have some elements out here in Kaneohe Bay, Hawaii. And then finally, we have the 1st Marine Expeditionary Force, and they're based out of Camp Pendleton in California. And Marines under the 1st Marine Expeditionary Force are arrayed throughout California, as well as Arizona. Together, we serve as the nation's expeditionary force in readiness. I'm sure you've heard that term in the past, but the simplest way to kind of think about that is we are most ready when the nation is least ready. And to do this, we have two things that enable us to be this ready force. And the first one is as crisis response forces, and the second as stand-in forces. The crisis response forces, in essence, means that we are ready to respond at a moment's notice to an array of missions in any climb and any place. As stand-in forces, we are persistently forward operational within contested spaces in order to develop and encourage our regional partners, as well as sense and have a better understanding of our operational environment, and then ultimately able to act or enable the action of others in order to maintain security and stability in the region. So both roles, we work very closely alongside our joint forces, as well as with our like-minded allies and partners. And the whole purpose of that is for several goals. First is really to kind of ensure an open and free Indo-Pacific region out here. And we do that, as I stated earlier, by reassuring our allies and our partners while we work out here. But it's also incumbent upon us to deter any potential conflict or aggressive behavior by any forces that are out there. And then second, we remain, as always, ready to fight and win should there be a conflict that arises within the region. And again, we'll do that alongside our joint forces and our partners and allies out here. So that's a summary to kind of think about what we're persistently doing out here in the region, if that helps.
Yes, sir. So I understand that exercise Bala-Katan is going to be kicking off here pretty soon, and Marines are going to be participating in that. That's in the Philippines. I was wondering if you could maybe talk a little bit about that, what the Marine Corps' role in that exercise is, and sort of the importance of this exercise.
Yeah, of course. So exercise Bala-Katan is one of our premier exercises out here. It's the largest bilateral exercise between the forces of the Philippines as well as the United States forces. And from MAR4PAC, this is in essence our exercise. We are planning it, we're preparing it, and we're also in control and running the exercise. So a lot of investment has gone on for the Marine forces out here. There will be upwards of 16,000 personnel participating, both from the Philippine forces as well as the United States forces from all the different services. And we expect to have about 14 countries observing. So a very big impact in the region, and we're working on enabling interoperability and other capabilities in our modernization efforts in the region. So one of the key efforts we're doing now, which is new, is information warfighter exercise. So that's a brand new capability of providing and working on in this region. So we're going to share what we do in the information space, and as well as understanding what they do in information space, and share those common practices with each other.
Now, sir, what's new about Bala-Catan this year? Anything different than last year's exercise or some of the previous exercises?
Yeah, Jennifer, that's a good question. Our efforts each year is to expand what we're doing with our Philippine partners. And one of the biggest goals is not just expanding just in size, but also in scope, in the sense of the complexity of our efforts there. So how much we can train together, work on interoperability, and share our best practices in all sorts of complex environments. For instance, we're going to be helping the Philippine forces in humanitarian and civic operations as they develop efforts to support their communities. Everything from medical, professional military education exchanges, so medical, we have dental, we even have our chaplain forces getting together to work together. And we're working within that realm also to build up the school system and enable the ability for the Philippine forces to help their own communities that way. So it's a really good relations effort with our friends out there. We're making more effort in the combined joint all domain operations in these exercises. For instance, looking at command and control in the cyber operations realm, which is unique and new. As I mentioned earlier, we have the information warfighter exercise, and through the information warfighter exercise, now we're going to go out there and continue with that and further develop our information operations capabilities with our Philippine partners. And ultimately, as you can imagine, physically we're working in the air, we're working the maritime domain, as well as the land and sea. So we're going to continue to learn how to sense, how to make sense, how to communicate these targeting capabilities, all within a realm which is going to finally culminate with our Philippine forces in sinking a Philippine ship that's going to be located out in the ocean. So we're going to sense those capabilities out there, or show those capabilities to sense that target, share that with our partners, and then provide that targeting information to apply that to an actual weapon systems with our Philippine forces that will culminate in the sinking of a ship. So it's pretty exciting stuff we're doing with our forces.
Okay, so when you talk about interoperability, it's not just, maybe being able to fight side by side, but also having the communication between, different domains with the partner as well.
Yeah, interoperability has gotten to a completely new level with force design, and we're in the leading edge of implementing the changes for the Marine Corps. So it is very much completely in the realm of communications, of our systems to be able to see. When I talk about sensing and understanding our environment, it's not just physically being out there with our eyeballs and looking at the region and the people out there. That is a huge part of it, but it's also with the different equipment. We have the TPS-80, we have our F-35 Bravos. We also have our MQ-9s, depending if the countries are okay with having them in the area. All those different systems are watching and gathering information. The key to that is be able to connect all that information, collude it together, and then now send that out to the different forces, not just the Marine Corps, but our joint forces, as well as our allies and partners. That information is critical to enable a united effort should we have to face some sort of conflict against a larger enemy or capable enemy in that region.
Now, sir, the United States has started rotating some Marines into some sites in the Philippines, I believe, as part of like a relatively recent agreement with the Philippines to open up some more military sites to U.S. troops there. Is that, are those Marines, is it going to be like a rotational force similar to the Darwin, Australia rotational force, or is it a different kind of thing as far as for the Philippines specifically?
Yeah, so the rotational forces in Darwin are a unique thing we're doing right now with the Australians. What we're doing in the Philippines is just multiple different exercises in the form of, like you discussed a moment ago, Bala-Catan, but we also have MASA, the Marine Aviation Support Activity. We have MARX, which is going on right now in this moment. And we just continue to do some training and exercises with the units out there. We do a lot of work with the Philippine Marine Corps, for instance, and work in the archipelagic defense capability that they have.
Okay. Now, looking back at the past year, can you tell me some of the things the Pacific Marines have accomplished or done, and maybe some of the things that you're looking forward to or planning for this year?
Yeah, of course. So it's we're really busy out here is pretty much the bottom line. If you just want to say we're busy, that probably covers it pretty well. But 2023 was a great year, an exciting year for us. For instance, the 31st MU completed its first Japan-based Iron Fist exercise. This previously was held out in California, and this time we brought it out towards Japan, and that enabled the use of the Japanese Maritime Self-Defense Force ships as we worked on some amphibious operations training, as well as search and rescue capabilities. As we mentioned a second ago, MRF-D is a big exercise. We work with the Australian forces all around the region, so we continue to do that. We supported that back in 2023. Task Force Koa Moana, that's forces from 1MEF out of California. And they come out and work over multiple countries near Papua New Guinea and Palau, working on supporting all the different inhabitants out there by building up hospitals that need repairs or repairing runways in different regions. So really wonderful capability and opportunity to build relationships and support our friends out in that region. One thing to note is not only are we doing these exercises out there, but this enables us as a crisis response force to be in the area and local. For instance, we supported the Philippines during Typhoon Idai, where there was a lot of damage to the inhabitants of the Philippines. We had multiple flights from MB-22s and CH-53s providing about 64,000 pounds of supplies around the Subic Bay area. We also down in Papua New Guinea during a Mount Batanga eruption. We supported them again from the 31st MU off the USS America with CH-53s and MV-22s, again providing water and different containers to support the displaced folks during that HADR situation. In the future, you asked about what we're planning in the future. 2024, we're going to continue to do those exercises and continue to add more exercises, which is really exciting. For instance, already in the 4th month of this year, elements of the 15th MU have deployed with the USS Somerset and participated in 2 different exercises. The first was with the Thai folks in Cobra Gold, exercise Cobra Gold in Thailand. And we also trained with India in Tiger Triumph. Again, working interoperability, command and control capabilities and different exercise opportunities we have in there. As I stated a second ago with our discussion, Bala Katana is coming up in a week. A very big exercise with the Philippines, so we're excited to be involved with that. This year is going to be our 13th iteration of MRF-D. And again, I restate that because it's going to be the 1st Marine Expeditionary Force out of California. It's the 3rd iteration that they're running that. So they're coming all the way from California into this area. And it shows our partners our continuity and our dedication and focus and commitment to those partners of ours. Have you heard of PALS, the Pacific Amphibious Leaders Symposium? This is an opportunity where leaders from multiple different countries will get together in different parts, depending each year where we're going to have it. This year, it's our 10th iteration. We're going to have that in the Republic of Korea up in Seoul. So approximately 20 countries will be, leaders from 20 different countries, will be coming in, enabling opportunities to discuss the challenges of maritime operations or potentially discuss amphibious capabilities and the different modernization efforts that we've had. And frankly, at a minimum, and probably most importantly, it's an opportunity for leaders to get together, build relationships, and look to plan in the future how we can work and trade together. Up in Korea, we're also doing Sangyeong, which is Sangyeong 24. It's a yearly exercise. This time, as we have in the past, we're building it out even further with 1st and 3rd MEF's involvement with the Marine Corps from the Republic of Korea. It's a big exercise, and we're going to have a full-scale opportunity this year, which we weren't able to do since 2018. And again, I just want to note that real world operations, HADR, we've already had an opportunity to support the Philippines during a very heavy rainstorm and difficult time, which caused flooding and landslides in the Mindanao area. So the 3rd Marine Expeditionary Force provided 15,000 food packets via KC-130s via 10 different missions and flights in the area. So a lot going on out here in the region.
Sure. Well, and saying that it's the 13th iteration of Marine Rotational Force Darwin makes me feel really old, sir. So
Yeah. You and me both. You and me both. I remember it was new.
yes, I do too. Now, so you guys now have 2 established Marine littoral regiments in the theater, and another is going to be standing up, I think, next year. How are the ones that have already been designated coming along, and what kinds of capabilities do they have or already, or will they have that are different than other Marine regiments?
Well, they continue to build up with the new capabilities as they're coming in, and they're doing, frankly, very well. As you know, the 3rd MLR is based out here in Hawaii. They just completed a symposium, 2023 symposium with the 12th MLR to discuss training and personnel and requirements for deployment of an MLR. So that was a really great opportunity there. And they're already getting prepared to participate in Balikatan. So we're sending forces out for that. And shortly after that, they'll be involved in the Philippines for MASA. And then they're going to come back here and be involved with RIMPAC, and it just continues to go forward. So it's really a great opportunity where they get to display their capabilities and practice that. One thing they did do is also the force design integration exercise, where they worked on all the different areas here in Hawaii, from mountainous terrain to coastal defense, working at very austere locations and enabling that capability to access systems such as 5th generation aircraft in the F-35 Bravo Lightning II, the TPS-80 radar, as well as MQ-9 Alphas, the unmanned drone capability out here. Take that information, share it as necessary, and they even were able to get targeting data for a simulated strike on an enemy ship out in the ocean. So it's really been a successful opportunity for the MLR, the 3rd MLR. As you know, the 12th MLR is already established, and they're west of the international date line, which is a significant development. And as they progress and they start developing and getting more and more capabilities, they're already able to participate and in the region using their core functions, integrating with the different forces out there, viewing and sensing and making sense of the environment, understanding that operational environment that's out there. So it's a very unique capability. They're MAGTF capable units, so they change in size depending on the necessity in the region, and they're able to provide support in any manner needed. So it's a capable thing that we're very proud of.
Okay. Now, and then the 3rd and final MLR, which is not actually the 3rd MLR, but you know what I mean, is going to be in Guam. And is that part of the larger move of Marines from Okinawa to Guam? I don't know where those Marines are coming from. I'm just kind of wondering about that movement of Marines, if it's already begun, and what's that going to look like?
Yeah, so Guam is a great, interesting location. In fact, I was just there about 3 weeks ago. I had the opportunity to look at Camp Laz and the development of that camp. And I'll tell you, I am impressed with what's going on in that location. It is, as you know, going to be a strategic hub for both the Marine Corps as well as our forces in the region. And we're sticking to the agreement and honoring the agreement with the government of Japan to move forces out this year. And we're progressing on timeline as planned. So it's really moving forward well, Jennifer.
Okay, yeah, and I guess I'm not that familiar with the timeline, but so it's moving forward the way that it's supposed to be moving. And
it's moving forward the way it's supposed to be, with the first people heading that direction this year towards spring 24. Mm-hmm.
Okay, sure. All right. Moving on to tech. I know one of the goals of force design was to modernize the force and bring in new tech and capabilities, particularly did this theater, to prepare for a potential war with China. Could you tell me a little bit about some of the new technologies or new gear that you guys have been using here in the Pacific, or maybe anything that you plan to bring in this year?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, we just brought in, as I mentioned earlier, MQ-9 Alphas. They're located here in Kaneohe Bay. And that is a superb capability. It's a unmanned aerial vehicle that provides ISR capabilities much needed in the region out here, particularly with the austere locations that we have and the long time, loiter time overhead, and their ability to pass that information out to the different forces out here. So we're really excited to have that here. We already have plans to use them here in exercises coming in the future, and we're going to continue to work with our partner countries if they're willing and allow us to do that. Then we would love to be able to utilize that, show the capability that would help them as much as possible in their regions. Third MLR is currently fielding the Rogue Nemesis capability. So Rogue is a platform. It's an unmanned vehicle that's got the man in the loop. So a Marine in another vehicle that will control that vehicle. And on top of that will sit the Nemesis system, the missile system. So each MLR is going to get a battery's worth of that. So that amounts to about 18 launchers and ultimately 36 missiles, which if needed, could all be launched within seconds of each other, which is a tremendous capability within the Marine Corps and the MLR units themselves. And one thing I just want to note that, as you know, the interim flight clearance for the MV-22 has been provided on March 8th. So we're currently in the process of ensuring a very safe return. That's our priority of those aircraft to ensure the safety of our Marines. But as I mentioned earlier, what an incredible capability to support the different countries out here. So we're excited to have that aircraft back flying again.
Sure. Now, I know one of the most obvious challenges of the Indo-Pacific region is just the sheer size of it, plus the fact that much of that space is made up of water. How are you overcoming that challenge? And I guess also, what kinds of munitions do you need in the theater to be able to reach those vast distances? And do you have those? Are you working on getting those? What are you guys using?
Yeah, so good questions, and it is. I think the biggest challenge out here is the distance when you initially look in the region. I mean, as you said, it's 100 million square miles. That's monstrous, absolutely monstrous. And so, how do we tackle that? Well, it's difficult, and not only that, it's filled with natural disasters. We've had typhoons, we have volcanoes, we have earthquakes, all which fall into, frankly, the capability set of the Marine Corps. We are part of the stand-in force, which is a huge factor for us, is that we are already there. We're here with our partners, with our capabilities, which enable us now to support them as necessary and address any threats that are out there. You talked about the threats in the region. We're not only looking at the PRC, but as you can imagine, we've got two other nation states that continually cause difficulties for us, Russia and the DPRK. So we're keeping an eye on those nation states as well. Bottom line is we're working together with our joint partners as well as our other allies and partners in the region to provide capabilities as necessary. We're an incredible link for the joint force in sensing and understanding the spaces and providing information as needed to support the countries as needed as things come out here. So we have those capabilities. The Rogue Nemesis is another capability that coming out here is going to make all the difference in the world. But presence is a factor all in itself that really makes a difference and sends a proper message.
Sure. And I understand the Marine Corps is working on a stern landing vessel, or it's going to be a landing ship medium, I think is what it's actually going to, but the thing you're working with right now is the stern landing vessel. Is that out here yet, or the prototype out here yet, or are you guys going to be working on that, or is that still out in California?
No, there are plans to have a stern gate landing vessel. What you're talking about is an interim capability until we get the medium landing ship capability out here. It's not here yet, and I'm afraid I don't have the exact times it's going to be out here. But we're going to work on tactics and procedures once it gets out here to find out the best way we're going to utilize that with our units that are forward deployed.
Okay, and as far as I understand it, I think it's partly, or at least mainly, for the MLR to move some of the Marine Littoral regiments around, or
So
maybe just stand-in forces in general.
yeah, it's a stand-in force focused, but Marines writ large are stand-in force. MLR just provides a very focused capability, but we do have MLR-like capabilities that will probably be part of the rest of the United States Marine Corps. But it's an enabling, as a crisis response force, that's global. That's not just here in the Pacific. So having that ability to move equipment and Marines around is a global capability, not just in this region. So it's going to help all the Marines writ large.
Sure. Talking about the size and distances in the region, it seems like logistics has got to be a challenge also here. What are the ways that you guys are overcoming that logistical challenge of, getting gear and supplies and people around?
Yeah, and you're hitting exactly on our priority, what we're focusing on out here, because that really is what's going to support us as we go forward, both for the whole range of missions, right? From humanitarian assistance and disaster relief all the way up to conflicts. And we're working with our partners. The number one thing of importance is it's their territory, their home. So we communicate with them on capabilities that we have out here, and we see what they would like and allow and what they would like to help support them. And then working together to see what we can see what's in the realm of the possible as we go forward. But having capabilities forward staged is 90% of the problem set solved, right? As opposed to trying to get it all the way across this vast distances of thousands of miles across the ocean. So we are working on that. We have some locations right now where we have HADR equipment already set in some certain spaces. I'm afraid I can't get into specifics with you, but again, it's working in conjunction with our partners and our allies to what works for them and what they're comfortable with. And as we go forward, and hopefully we'll be able to continue this capability as we push forward, because that we don't have to worry about those systems right now. They're already out here, and that's wonderful.
Okay. What are some of the other challenges that you are facing here in this region, and how are you overcoming those?
That's a loaded question. There's all
Yes, I
sorts
know. Sorry.
Well, as always, we always want to ensure the rotation of our units as we get out here. We're working closely with our Navy friends out here to ensure we have the ability to maneuver in the region, and they've been fantastic. We're a maritime force, and we work closely with our Navy. We are a team, and that's the biggest thing. And just continuing with that, focusing on our international friends and how we can further develop their capabilities and let them know that we're here. That's probably the biggest thing, is we're here with them and we're not going anywhere. And it's proof in the pudding is frankly the fact that we have 2 out of 3 Marine Expeditionary Forces that make up the whole Marine Corps in this region together side by side, focused on the Pacific AOR. So I'd say those are probably
Okay. Well, sir, what have I missed? What have I not asked you about that you want to share about the Pacific Marines? I know you're doing a lot, and I don't want to miss any of the things that the Marines are doing out here right now, especially when so much is going on in the world.
Yeah, no, I think just recognizing that we're ready. The Marines are ready when the nation is least ready. That is our mission. That's our focus. And the change in force design is really an increase in our capabilities. We work much more jointly, and we're enabling the joint force as we need it. And we play a critical role by being forward positioned persistently in contested spaces. That's unusual, but it's incredibly important. But I think just remember that our focus is out here, but we're ready to respond wherever we're needed. And I think we've pretty much covered it. Otherwise, it's been a pleasure being out here. I'll be honest with you, it's an honor to be part of this team out here.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, sir, for joining us today. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. And thank you to our audience also for tuning in. We will continue our Spotlight series next week with Vice Admiral Ashback from Naval Information Forces. And we really look forward to seeing you there. For Defense One, I'm Jennifer Ladd.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for being here today. I am Andrew Werner, publisher of Federal Brands here at GovExec, and I'm excited to continue today's conversation alongside our underwriter, Tanium. Joining me from Tanium is Kyle Dewar, Director of Technical Account Management for Public Sector. Kyle, it's great to have you here. Welcome. Before we jump into the meat of our conversation, I thought I'd give you a minute just to, if you want to introduce yourself, a little bit about your work experience, and then specifically what you've been doing at Tanium.
Hey, good morning, Andrew. Yeah, thanks for having us. This is a great opportunity to talk about Tanium's contribution to our national defense. Yeah, I've been with Tanium almost 5 years. I'm a director of technical account management, and that's like the most amazing job one could ever have. I get to play with all kinds of technology. Lately, I've been doing a lot with the Microsoft integration technology, but I get to really play with everything, and then once in a while to do something to pull in some revenue. But I work with customers to enable their success through either training or coaching or mentoring. Talk about their complex problems and figure out solutions, which typically involve Tanium, taking an action or enabling some sort of visibility. So I've got an amazing job. My background is Marine Corps. I've been in 35 years. I'm in the reserves. Should be retiring here pretty soon. And then, fun career. I'm very fortunate to be here with you. And look forward to today's conversation.
Well, I love that you have the on the ground experience, and then it's been exciting to watch what Tanium's brought to the public sector in the past, probably over close to a decade at this point, but I've seen more and more of you guys. So, in terms of the United States Marine Corps, let's dig in a little bit there. What threats does the United States Marine Corps face when it comes to protecting mission data? And I think that could be a large conversation of itself, but maybe just give us some highlights of that and what you see on the ground day to day with customers.
Yeah, that's a big question, and appreciate you asking that. The Marine Corps and really like all U.S. government departments and agencies spanning the civilian sector as well as the education and such, they all face a wider range of threats, and these threats span the cyber threat continuum, right? So threats in simple terms, it's just a vulnerability or system defect that can be used to compromise mission data. And so to protect that mission data requires visibility of the system vulnerabilities and defects. You can't protect what you can't see. So with visibility being sort of that critical component, we sort of build on that. So it's helpful to use maybe the term protect surface, right? Because sometimes threats and vulnerabilities and things they just get kind of confusing. But the overall protect surface, that's going to be your systems, your users, and your mission data. And obviously, circling back, it's difficult to protect what you can't see. And so you need to be able to see your protect surface so you can implement the right controls to either detect in all cases or even prevent adversary actions. So as we look at the protect surface, it's equally important your ability to control that. The threat environment isn't standing still; it's constantly evolving. And so with Tanium, organizations can see everything and do everything. What we mean by that is that we're going to allow you to see the processes, the connections, the DNS calls, all those little things that go on in your environment that could contribute to a compromised mission data. The constant in a contested environment is change. And because of the change of threats, because of the change of threat actors, the ability to see and change and really evolve your protect surface is critical. Now, I would be remiss as a Marine if I didn't sort of take it back to warfighting, right? We can look inward and say that mission assurance and mission data requires the data to be ready, accessible, accurate, right? But behind the why, behind that protect surface is what do we want to do with that mission data, right? And so the outward look is where we focus on adversaries. We're here to do bid America's America's will against adversaries, right? And so you have Project Dynamis or JADC2, and those efforts ensure that the systems and users have the right access and the right data to create a decision advantage against an adversary. And those adversaries can be big and large countries, or they can be small regional countries. And so Force Design 2030 has positioned the Marine Corps to compete in that multi-domain or all-domain operating environment where the adversary is a focus. And so the why of mission assurance of mission data is so that we can prosecute those missions overseas. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah, no, it's a great. I loved what you did in starting it from sort of the visibility at the macro level, and then I think the part that's often missed or overlooked is bringing it down to the tangible purpose of the mission and the warfighter. So yeah. I think that's very insightful. And then you talked about the surface management, but why should a platform approach to IT operations and security management be top of mind when we're talking about protecting that whole ecosystem?
Well, I think a while back, so let me define some terms first, because I sometimes in the military you like to sort of say an acronym or a term of reference that you know
You
very
guys like
well.
acronyms?
The
I've
audience might not
never,
know as well.
I didn't
So
know the
JADS,
military liked acronyms. That's good.
right? JADC2, or Joint All Domain Command and Control, a while back used the term data fabric, and we see that term sprinkled throughout industry, financial services, and that data fabric essentially is a medium where data can be transported, secured, ingested, that sort of thing. Looking at a platform approach, and this is where Tanium really has amazing technology. We can see compliance vulnerabilities, we can see real-time threats, we can see patching information, asset information. We can go into see SBOM data. But if you look at that data, all of it is like separate in different parts and pieces within a large system. So the platform approach brings all that data together. It allows you to contextualize that data in real time. And when you can contextualize the data, I'd almost compare it to, if you're in your car and you start seeing raindrops, you're going to put your windshield wipers on, right? Sometimes if you want to clean your windshield, you'll put the windshield wipers on. But there's context around those actions around using that particular subsystem of your car. Where we want to take this platform approach, where it's going is to contextualize data to enable autonomy. So we want to be able to provide just the right data, and in some cases we'll even provide relationship. Like one example might be, if I install this patch, will I have an adverse effect on my system? But we'll provide the data that says we've installed this patch 16,000 systems across this area, and no problems have been observed. So it gives you assurance. There's a context around the assurance of installing that particular patch. A couple of the points. The diversity of data creates this contextualization that is greater than the sum of the individual data elements. And so Tanium's platform approach feeds partner integrations. We have strategic partnerships with Microsoft and ServiceNow. And as a result, Tanium acts as that data plane feeding either Sentinel, ServiceNow, or other integrations. And we also provide that control plane where those external systems can use Tanium to conduct actions, across the protect surface. So it's kind of the platform approach is critical or integral to that contextualization of what's going on in your environment.
Makes total sense, and it seems like the platform approach is even more necessary for future oriented as the threat surface and actors get more complicated. This ecosystem
Right.
is not simplifying in any way in the next five months, let alone 5 years. So to that, I guess I would ask to wrap us up here. And we only have 15 minutes, but there's so much we could dig into. But in terms of the future, what investments is Tanium making to support the Marine Corps now? And then what are you guys doing to look towards the future as things get even more complex?
Well, the Marine
Not
Corps,
that they're not complex already.
right? Yeah, I guess it's job security when the complexity continuum continues to grow. The Marine Corps' focus is on threat-informed, operationally focused, data-driven operations in cyberspace, right? And so setting the pace for others across DoD. So Tanium enables the Marine Corps to see more and do more and act with speed, precision, and lethality. Tanium's vision of enabling autonomy across endpoints will help the Marine Corps accelerate operations in cyberspace, because we're going to allow the Marine Corps to automate those complex or time-consuming tasks. And when we automate those tasks, we're going to reduce errors and increase quality from an execution perspective. So with Tanium delivering real-time data into operational workflows, organizations will benefit from from autonomy in the endpoint management space. So the tasks, the super complex tasks, and then the super simple tasks ideally would go away, and that will narrow the focus and allow the Marine Corps to do more and be more effective in cyberspace operations. So in short, the 30-second pitch for Tanium and where we're going, we're bringing autonomy into cyberspace operations so that the Marine Corps and other services can then focus on those areas that require greater attention.
That's probably a wonderful space to end.
Yeah.
I'll ask you one sort of more general question. I'll put you on the spot a little bit. We'll have folks, we've talked a lot about the Marine Corps, but we'll have folks across DoD and even civilian agencies are facing different stripes of this, but all similar in terms of keeping mission data safe. Any thoughts or advice you've seen across your different partnerships or work where you think what advice would you give to folks that are trying to at a core level keep mission data safe?
Well, I think fundamentally it starts with the ability of seeing your protect surface. So visibility is the first, and then when you see it, you've got to be able to exercise control over it. So with Tanium, we are an agile platform. We're tailorable to the way that service operates. So whether you're doing maneuver warfare or mission command or maritime command and control mechanisms, we allow departments and agencies to employ Tanium the way they operate from a warfighting function perspective. And so with Tanium, we're going to give you the assurance that the right capability, the right sensor, the right package is being deployed on that endpoint. It's authentic. It will return accurate and data in real time, and it just frees you up to be able to focus more on warfighting and external areas like adversaries and threats, as opposed to internal of why is the system breaking? How do I how do I train to it? It's just we pivot. We allow you to pivot to that external focus as opposed to always looking inward, which is probably a reputation IT has in some cases.
Kyle, I think that's a perfect place to stop because unfortunately we're out of time. So thank you so much for all the insights here today, and thank you to Tanium for making today's conversation possible. And lastly, thank you to our audience for tuning in. Keep an eye on your inbox for a link to today's on-demand program, and feel free to share it with friends and colleagues. For GovExec, I'm Andrew Werner, and have a great day.